Hey mamas, I am so excited to have you join me today. We are going to dive into a plan your week with me using very simple materials. I'm Yael, by the way, if we haven't already met, and I'm a homeschooling mama of 3 mini humans. And if you love videos all about curriculum, resources, eclectic home learning, and videos like this, you have come to the right place. So be sure to subscribe and enable those notifications so you don't miss what I have next just for you, mama. Like I said earlier, I like to use very simple materials to plan my week. I don't have a specific homeschool planner. If you do, then you're going to be using a different process. But I like to use a notebook, really simply, that is just a lined notebook. I have some fun, different colored brush pens with me. I used to do a lot of bullet journaling before I did homeschooling, so I have these that I can use. I also have this Pigma micron pen. Last but not least, I have this monthly planner, and I will just quickly share the way that I use this is I will write down all of the dates, not just for homeschooling, but for other things like appointments and meetings that we need to keep track of. And I also use this to write down all of my to-dos for each day. And I also try to time block my day as well. So this is good for all around planning, but primarily I do a lot of my homeschool planning in my notebook. Now, before we do all of the planning, the very first thing I like to do is a little brain dump. And this is very messy. I don't do this in any kind of organized way, but it's just a really great way for me to explore some of the ideas that maybe I am thinking about and I just need to get out on the paper. This could range from different places that we want to visit and different things that we want to do as a family throughout the week, and also some of the key concepts that we might be wanting to practice a little bit more about. So this is just a helpful space for me to get out everything out of my head and onto the paper. So now I'm gonna show you exactly how I organize my notebook to make sure that I'm hitting all of the different areas I want to plan for. There are 3 general categories that I like to make sure I plan out ahead of time. And that is our morning baskets, which happen every single day, our curriculum, and specifically the lessons that we're going to be using throughout the week. And then finally, our work boxes and all of the activities, worksheets that I'm going to be putting in them for my older 2 children, as well as all of the shelf activities that I'm going to be setting out for my son to do. Let's dive into how I plan for the morning basket. Very simple. I just like to put an abbreviation for each of the days of the week. Then I will use my brush pens to simply delineate those days, and I will refer to a fun activity sheet that I found online. I will link that below. It was on a Pinterest board that I found, and it was so helpful because it gave a list of all of these different activities that you can do during your morning basket. So I will incorporate some of those ideas here as well. And I will also write down some of the books that we might be reading. Generally speaking though, I like my kids to choose the books that they want to read, and the core book that we like to always read or try to read every single day is the Jesus Storybook Bible. Once I have clearly mapped out all of the morning basket details, I will turn my attention to curriculum and specifically the lessons we're going to do. Now, I like to keep this very, very simple. I will write down each of the children's names so I know exactly who I am talking about and referring to. And again, I use my brush pens to separate their names so that it's easier for me to keep track. And then I don't plan out per day. I just plan exactly what lessons that we're aiming to do during the course of the week. This is far simpler for me than having to do a lot of what the homeschool planners have, which are different columns for each kid. I like this approach way better too, because if you have multiple children, you can organize this however you need to accommodate for all of your different children. I find this to be such an effective way to make sure that I write down and keep track of all the lessons that we're planning to do during the week. And it's a lot more simpler than having to fill out each of the different days for each of the children. So what you may already be noticing is that I'm just using the left side of my notebook to organize all of the things that we're planning for throughout the week. And I do that intentionally. I will share exactly why I do that a little bit later. Last but certainly not least, I'm gonna be writing down the workbox activities that each of my older two children are gonna be doing, and then the shelf activities that my son will do. Now, if you haven't already seen my homeschool yearly planning video, you should go check that out, and this will become a lot clearer. So essentially, the curriculum, lessons, and things like that, I will do on our A days, our A day rotation, and then on our B day rotation, that's when my kids will do their work boxes. So this is just a helpful space for me to, again, organize my thoughts and make sure that I am covering all the bases. And honestly, sometimes I will go back and I will add some things, maybe take away some things that we didn't want to do this week. So this is just a great spot for me to start having some type of reference, a starting point for me to plan these things out for my children. Ooh, all this planning has gotten me very, very thirsty. Okay, so on the right side of my notebook, I like to reserve that space for writing down all of the different notes and things that I want to keep track of that the kids are doing throughout the week. So these are just little tidbits and sound bites that happen throughout our week that I want to make sure I keep track of. For example, when I am observing my son and all the different activities that I have planned for him to do, perhaps I want to adjust something and I want to make a note to myself about something that he has left behind, doesn't want to do anymore, or something like that. This is a space for me to do that. The other thing that I like to keep track of is our trips and things, and maybe the things that we experienced along the way as we were exploring a different place. So that's another area where I can jot those things down. I also like to reflect on how I'm doing, how the kids are doing emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. You know, when we have those bad days, sometimes we kind of mull through the day and try to get through it, but we don't really do too much reflection on what exactly happened? Like, what is making this a bad day? This is a space for me as well to write those things down. So this is how I like to organize my notebook. So on the left side, I have all of my planning details. Then on the right side, I use that as free space to write down my thoughts on how the days have gone, how the children are doing, how they're progressing, and any adjustments that I need to make for the next week. So that's it, mamas. That is my simple approach to doing homeschool planning from week to week. If you have found this video helpful today, be sure to give it a great big thumbs up, a like, and share it with someone else who might find this video helpful as well. Take care, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.